Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be taking these two Gen 1 Deuce Gorgon dolls and turning them into both Links from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This one does have like a little chip or something in its leg, but I can just patch that up easily with some clay. I take both dolls into the kitchen and pour some boiling water in a cup to get their heads off. It'll also help soften the glue up to get like the snake hair things off their heads. Or at least that's what I thought, but I had to cut it up into a million different pieces. Yeah, I can't use either of those. But they're both bald now. So I can just take some acetone on a paper towel and wipe off their faces. Also, since it's two of the same character, I'm just going to be going over this process once, so that it's not too repetitive. If I don't specify that I did something different for the other doll, assume I'm doing it to both. Once I get the paint off, I take this kind of wood scraper thing, I forgot what it was called exactly, and scrape off the raised lettering on the backs, because technically Link can go shirtless, and I want to be able to pose this doll any way possible, so I just sand it off. And then of course I lay down some parchment paper and start sculpting the ears. I don't know why I have so much trouble with this, probably just because it's small and delicate. While I still have the clay out, I also take the opportunity to patch up that little hole in the leg. Once they're dry, I glue them on. This one is Breath of the Wild, and as you can see, this one here is Tears of the Kingdom. Don't ask me why it doesn't have ears at this point, because I don't know. I drew the design on for the arm in Sharpie, and then I go in with this transfer paper to draw it on so I can make a pattern. For the arm, I did use this drawing by Skirio, I hope I'm saying that right, on Tumblr. This was so helpful, like oh my god, this was so helpful. Anyway, I pin the pattern onto a piece of foam and be very careful because the paper is very delicate, and just trace around it. Then I of course clean it up with a pencil. Once it's on there, I do glue it on. Here I'm using just Elmer's glue or tacky glue, but I ended up using hot glue. And as you can see here, I got the entire arm patterned out, and here is actually my pattern. I think I just wanted to show this off because it was very, very delicate. But then we can get it all glued onto the arm. And yeah, as you can see here, I was trying to use tacky glue, but since it's rounded, I couldn't just leave it like that, so I would have had to hold it here for several hours. Plus, tacky glue didn't really like the smooth surface of the arm, so I did end up just using hot glue for the whole thing. But it still turned out great, as you can see, and it hasn't fallen off. I turned the doll upside down to get a better angle, and going with my little detail thread scissors, and snip the edges to make them more rounded. And sorry about the weird angle, this is like at the bottom and bordering on not even being on the screen. I was very focused on doing it. And as you can see here, while I was trimming, it did get thin enough to come off a little. And I also tried sanding it down, but sanding this kind of foam didn't really work, so I quickly abandoned that. But now that the arm is all glued on, I also glue on his ears. Again, I don't know why they were off in the first place. And for the rings that are around his hand, I am going to just paint those on. Because as you can see here, I did try to sculpt them on, but the clay was so small, like it was such a small amount that it was way too delicate for me to like smoothly put onto the fingers, if that makes sense. I just don't have the skill for it. After I abandoned sculpting the rings, I glue on these very thin strips of cardstock for the nails. I made sure to keep them long so I had plenty of wiggle room. Because yeah, Rauru does in fact have long nails that Link doesn't have, so this is only going on this hand. I give those a while to dry and then go over them with some more glue because, you know, they are cardstock, so they're gonna need all the strength they can get. I especially pile it on under the nail since that part can be hidden. Then I trim them down to size. again, giving myself a little bit of length for some wiggle room. And then going in and adding the points like this. After the nails, all the necessary modifications are done. So I can go in and paint in like the ears and the back of the leg. I was going to use this skin tone I had as a jumping off point for color matching, but it's completely dead. I don't know how long I've had that, but it's unusable now. I used the back of this doll's head as a way to test the skin tones. I just stopped eventually. I didn't get it perfect, but I just had to stop eventually because I mixed so many. So I'm just painting the back of that head in fully to cover up all the splotchiness of the test, and then I paint over the ears and dab a little bit on the patch to blend it in with the rest of the skin. And I do have to also paint on one of the Link's faces, as you can see here, because it had some black staining that I couldn't get rid of with acetone. And yeah, it does look a little strange, but I swear it is the best I could get. And I dab it on with a paper towel so I can blend it. Mixing up paint for the arm was way easier. It's just a little bit of gray with some blue, or a little bit of blue with gray. Either one. Then I paint in that. Really the only part I need to be neat with was around the shoulder where it cuts off. I also paint on the parts, or draw on the parts, with Sharpie that are on his body and upper arm. And then I do go over that with paint. This pattern part was also on that diagram from Curious Curio, and I did also corroborate it with in-game screenshots. So yeah, that diagram came in so helpful. I wait for all that to dry, then go into the actual raised pieces with a light brown. I also paint the nails a slightly lighter gray, and I'm very sorry about this weird coloring or lighting going on here. I just didn't know how to fix it, and I did try. Then I can go in with some chalk pastels and blush the entire body. Again, since Link can go naked, it was important for me to blush the entire body this time. I think I've only blushed the entire body of a doll once before, and personally I think I did a much better job here. I think this turned out very good. I of course also go into the face and blush that as well. In-game, since you can't take off the shorts or underwear, I decide to just paint them onto the doll. And yes, I did go ahead and look if I ever wanted to make the other clothes from the game. It wouldn't be a problem because they're all at least a little longer than the shorts/underwear. Except for the Barbarian set in Breath of the Wild. That's the only discrepancy I could find though. Another thing I surprisingly did not notice until I was making this video is that the shorts from Breath of the Wild are longer than the ones from Tears of the Kingdom. A useless fact that we both know now. I'm only going to show the process of one face because it's literally the exact same for both, and yes, I did check for any discrepancies. I first paint in the whites of the eyes, of course, as I always start. After a couple layers of white, I go in with a light blue. Then after the light blue, I go in with a darker blue for the gradient. I did try to mix this up while they were both wet for, the best gradient. I do have a little trouble blending colors though on this tiny of a scale. I think I did pretty good with these eyes though. And now we all get to slowly watch as the doll's head slowly migrates lower and lower on the screen. I don't know why I can't keep things in frame to save my life. I do a black outline of the eyes off camera because I'm way too heavy-handed to be able to do that on camera, and then I paint in the eyebrows. With my style, I don't usually do pupils, and I thought about not doing pupils for this, but it looked really weird without, especially when compared to the actual model. So I did go in with a dotting tool and dot on some pupils before I made them more oval-shaped. With a smaller dotting tool, I went in with the eye shines. It's also worth noting that Link's lips aren't colored in or don't have any color at all, so I also didn't do that on this doll. I do think it turned out good though. Now the hair takes a little explaining. As you can see, I'm literally using Scotch tape right now to make a wig cap. I have done this method before, but I didn't show it on camera because I didn't think it would work, so I'm showing it now. I use little bits to fill in the sideburns, and then I go over that with larger pieces of tape, making sure it lays as flat as possible on the head. And I am making this a wig cap because I want to make like at least most of the outfits from each game, and most of them either need different hair or different colored hair. I put on several layers of this tape, and then once those are all on, I go in with some Mod Podge, you can also use glue for this, and paint a couple layers of that on to stiffen it up. Taking it off is a little tricky, but with some, convincing and pulling up, you can get it off. I take some more Mod Podge, again, you can just use glue for this, and paint it all over the inside of the wig cap so that the tape inside isn't sticky anymore. As you can see here, my wig cap got a little scrunched up all over from taking it off, so I used some more tape and just fix it. Once the cap is actually fitting, I just straight up put some yellow paint on it and spread it out. Just like you would on a regular doll scalp if you were doing yarn hair rerouting. I found this perfect yarn color, it's literally in the color mustard, and start gluing that on all over. I start with the tiny little bits on the sideburns and continue out from there. I took tons of screenshots of the in-game Link's hairstyle just to be able to get this right. I separate off the bangs part or the front hair with a marker, and then just start gluing the wefts on sideways for that. I know I haven't specified it yet, and if it's not obvious by the arm, but this is Breath of the Wild Link's hair, and with the ponytail he also has a little bit of hair at the back loose, so this is what that is. I go in with a hot butter knife to fold over the hair on the front so that I have a clean edge. And before I make his ponytail, I do go in and cut and style this part. As you can see, I made it all spiky. I did use some watered down glue to hold it in place. And oh my god, I'm gluing on more hair, but it's going out of frame. Yeah, that's real good. Everyone can see what you're doing. Yep. You can't see here, but I'm currently going around the hairline to glue on all the hair, and that does include going around the front part, or like the bangs part, with some as well. I do also take off the wig cap to get the hair on around the ear since it was in the way and all. It just made the whole process a lot easier, which of course you can still barely see. Oh nope, okay, I think I got it now. After I get it all the way around, I pick one little spot for the ponytail. It's like a low ponytail, so it'll be near the bottom, and kind of spiral the hair around that. I do use the hot butter knife technique again to fold over all the hair around the edges to fold it into a ponytail. And as you can see, this is a really long ponytail. I don't know why I'm focusing on the side parts here, but I did also get those in. This is a little bit too long, so I cut it down. It was also very poofy, so in order to not make it look weird, I did give it a little more length than what's actually in the game. Tears of the Kingdom Link's hair by comparison was a lot easier since it's just down. Although it is noted that he has the same bangs as in Breath of the Wild. And I do the same techniques here. I wrap the hair all around and then I just put it in rows instead of spiraling around one ponytail. And then I layer and feather out the ends. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm not a hairdresser. The yarn is also very, very poofy, and I did put it on a little thick so it likes to poof up in the back. And yes, since they are wigs, you can switch the hair, which is actually good because in Tears of the Kingdom you can get the well-worn hairband. We're gonna go chronologically again for the clothes, so Breath of the Wild is first. I take the gray fabric and cut them into pants, then I fold them in halves like so, and put them together. If it isn't obvious, I am making the worn set since it's the first one you get in the game. I take that tan fabric and cut out this shirt piece. I sew a stitch line along the collar, but it's just cosmetic. It doesn't actually hold anything. Then I attach the sleeves and fold it in half to, connect all the pieces. The shirt's obviously really easy. For the belt, I take one piece that's longer and one piece that actually fits around the waist, and sew them together like so. For the buckles, I take this thin piece of wire and just bend it into a buckle shape. The wire I'm using is pink, so for one buckle I paint it yellow then gold, and for the next I paint it gray then silver. Then I glue it onto the belts, since it's cosmetic anyway, and cut off the excess wire. Also for both games, he has the exact same belt, so assume I'm doing all of this twice. I also use some foam clay to sculpt little pouches that I glue onto the belts like so. And finally, the part I'm frankly most proud of is this Sheikah slate and Zonai battery holder thing. And yes, I'm aware the top of it isn't quite right. I did this off camera because I added a lot of details and I wouldn't be able to get those tiny details if I had to also focus on it being in frame. And since these don't come off at all, and if the belts are like worn over the clothes as well, I just glue them on. For Breath of the Wild's shoes, I cut them out of felt first. I just found these patterns online for shoes. And then I sew them all together and use embroidery threads for the laces. These ones are really simple and they are meant to be since it's with the Worn Traveler set. Again, if I make clothes in the future, I will use probably factory made shoes and, you know, make them actually look like they weren't cobbled together from random parts. But for this, I'm calling it fine because that's literally how it was meant to look. Starting at Tears of the Kingdom's clothes, I was working on shoes, so I might as well continue with shoes. I made these out of felt again, and I cut the sides out of what looks like antlers. That's the best way I can describe it as. Then I glue that on because personally I think stitching would be too obvious for this and I wanted it to look very clean. Then with the part that goes across, like across the ankle, I again cut this piece out and glue it on. Then for the straps going up the leg, I actually take some leather cord and wrap it around, and as I'm wrapping it around, I'm also gluing it on so that it stays in place. I go wrapping it around until I get 3 wraps. Then at the very top, I glue another piece of cord on and just wrap it around once. I just set that off to the side to let it dry, and the shoes are done. These were actually really fun to make, surprisingly. The rest of Tears of the Kingdom's clothes are actually really easy to make. It's just a series of rectangles. This rectangle is for the skirt. It's long enough to wrap around his waist with a little bit of wiggle room because I wanted to gather it a little bit, since it is a little flowy in the actual picture, but obviously on a doll size I can't really get that naturally. I wanted to gather it up just a little bit to not make it look too weird or bunched up at the top. Yeah, this didn't end up doing a whole lot in the long run. It just created more work for me. I sew it together at the back and then add this piece of elastic. This is what's going to catch the crotch and keep it from sliding up the waist, as you can see here. With this piece of longer gray fabric of the same type, I take it and drape it around the shoulders like this and sew it up at the shoulder. Obviously there's more wrinkles and stuff on the actual thing since it, has weight to it, but on a doll scale that doesn't quite work. So I add artificial folds in the fabric, like so. I definitely could have done a better job, but at the time I think it was like midnight and I was really tired. But I think it does look good, especially with the next piece, which is the last little shawl part on the side. I was originally going to use this fabric, but I think it's a little too blue, but the only fabric I have that's green is this. So yeah, we're sticking with this bluer fabric. I cut out little rectangles like so, and as you can see, I traced a triangle pattern onto the back and cut that out. That's going to be the little triangles at the bottom. I first cut out the outline of it and then sealed the edges with glue, because I didn't have fray check. And also I didn't want it to fray like crazy as I cut out the middle parts. For this I used my thread scissors and was very, very careful to not cut this into multiple pieces. And again, I did use some glue to attach these because the thread would have been way too big. There is this little design piece on the shoulder or the cuff of it, and sorry about my head popping in the frame. I just paint this on, first in white, then I went over the white in yellow, because at first I thought it was yellow, and then I went back and looked at the reference picture I was referring to, and it's actually a sort of like dark brown or light brown. So off camera I did go ahead and paint that the correct color. We're almost done now. I just have to drape it onto the fabric and mark a spot, then sew it up to create a little, like, shoulder sleeve thing. And yes, I did check. It's not like an actual sleeve, it's just attached there. At least from what I can tell. We would be done, except I forgot the earrings up until this point. They're just lengths of wire twisted into circles, then painted blue since I used pink pink wire. Then they're both done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yes, I am going to make Zelda at some point. Probably not like the next video, since I want to space these out, but I will make her. Okay, bye!